Welcome to the stream, ladies and gentlemen. How's it swinging? What's cooking those tricks? Today is a Monday, the 31st of May. That means that it is the absolute end of the month. And bring it on June, ladies and gentlemen. This is a stream because one, I wanted to, and two, I wanted to say thank you so very, very much for the very big, great uptick in views that I received in the past 10, 12 days. Ago, all of a sudden, those Joshua Graham videos started to go up again. And because of them, even though the one gathering the most views is like 74 seconds long, it seems as if I really am going to be paying these bills. Not this month, but next month. Yes. We are about $100 away. YouTube so far is calculated up to the 29th. So I think I'm gonna make it. I think we're gonna make it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pretty sure we are going to make it. Welcome to the stream, fellow changeling, Tom Haller, and Tyler Evan, the main man himself. More New Vegas content view bumps. Heard the echo recurrence conundrums. Yeah, well, I got different ideas on the mind for New Vegas. As for curious conundrums, those things don't just fall out of my ass, you know. But all right, got to do this. But it seems people are particularly interested in one man in particular, Joshua Graham. Yeah, anyway, to see if I can be able to speak for at least an hour. But yeah, it seems that people are very interested in Joshua Graham. Not only interested, but I'm worried that some people might actually be taking him and his words a bit too seriously. But oh, I'm sure nothing bad is gonna come out of that. Mild, welcome to the stream.
Oh, hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, the guest for the day is Mild. How's it going?
Oh, well, Pepito, it's been a good week for me. I don't know what voice I'm doing.
That's not. I don't know. Try and do a. What was that? What was that guy's name? Tayzon Day, the guy that did Chocolate Rain. Try and do that voice.
Let me think. Of
Chocolate
course.
Rain.
Of course, Pepito.
Close enough. So yeah, good week. Why is it a good week? Good to hear it's a good week.
Well, I guess I didn't hate it.
So it's
So,
is it really a good week or a neutral week?
well, it's now I think about it, I've never had like a 100% positive week, but those are rare.
As for most people, yes. Bokukan back. Welcome to the stream.
I'd say it's a good week because I haven't really faced any major problems. Only problems I have to deal with are like regular everyday problems, like planning what to eat and what to spend my time on, and that isn't very inconvenient.
What'd you eat today? Chicken?
Actually, yes, I did chicken.
Oh yeah, me too. Chicken buddies. The Powerpuff Girls live action show killed Mojo Jojo. I mean, they were yeah, they were gonna have to kill him at some point. At some point, something's gonna happen to him. Eventually, they grew to, I don't know, they're like, let's say they're 16 years old. And they're like, you know what? Fuck this monkey bitch. And just take his goddamn head off. It was gonna happen.
Considering the plans for it being a CW show, I'm sure they would be portrayed by like 25-year-olds.
Yeah, they're supposed to be grown-ups. But I'm just saying that when they were 16, I'm just gonna say that's when it probably happened.
From what I saw of the script that you posted
Yeah.
in Main Hold a day or so ago, it seemed like the most amazingly bad show that the CW could have ever produced.
And yeah, and CW has been a pretty crappy network.
Yeah.
Primal Pattern, how's it going?
How's it going? What's up? What's up?
How's your week?
Pretty decent. Just been preparing for moving day, which is happening tomorrow.
Excited?
No, the opposite.
Why is that?
I don't want. Um, I'm living in Chicago right now, and I grew up here, so it's been really good to have moved back after like 10 years or so away.
Mm-hmm.
So having to leave again is kind of depressing.
I see. That's a shame. Where are you moving to?
Texas.
Texas?
Yep.
That's
That's
a
where I
long way
was.
away.
Yeah, I'll be driving the whole way.
Ah. You gonna
From
go shoot guns with Montel?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd trust Bull's aiming enough, but I guess they call him Bullseye for a reason.
Well, I guess he calls himself Bullseye for a reason. But he told us he had to sell his guns.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a shame, I suppose.
I suppose, yeah.
And did he ever use them?
That I don't know.
Hmm.
I asked him. This is story I saw on Twitter. This tennis player was fined $15,000 and was also threatened with being expelled if she continued to avoid speaking to the media. Huh.
To avoid speaking
Yeah.
If I were in her
about
shoes,
what?
I would probably do the same.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't like the. If there was any part of me that I'd want to be commercialized, it would either be my ideas or what I'd perform as like a service. But I wouldn't want to have my personality or my daily life become commercialized to the extent that it pops up in magazines, you know?
What kind of questions did they ask her?
Like, who are you
Yeah,
f-
that's
who are you fucking? What are you eating? What do you believe in? Tell us what you believe in, or we'll fuck you over. Oh, you told us what you believe in? We'll fuck you over anyway.
Those are the kind of questions they ask to tennis players? Like
well,
after
I
a
mean,
match?
I think it's just the nature of being a celebrity. Like once you become famous enough, anything you do is interesting.
Although she doesn't have to answer the questions, I guess. Like
Who's compelling her to answer questions?
the tournament organizers, it seems. Apparently it's part of her contract. She has to speak to the media. She says she doesn't want to. She's trying to stay away from the media for the sake of her mental health.
That's understandable.
Yeah. You're cool and welcome to the stream, man. Nice to see you here again. But like I didn't even know that was a thing. Like you absolutely have to speak to the media as part of the contract or you get fined and booted out. And
I mean, I guess.
no, go on.
Well, I mean, I guess the athletes are products or commodities of whatever organization they're a part of. It's like you can't decide not to play a match, or you can't decide not to have interviews because that's a part of the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're saying
So
the
it's
the organizers make money off of the media interviews?
in part. I mean, it kind of builds, I guess, discussion around the game beyond the game itself.
Huh. Suppose. Wasn't
I mean, how
there?
many?
I'm pretty sure there
The
was this NFL player who also hated talking to the media, and every time they asked him a question, he would always give the exact same answer.
Hmm.
Like they can compel him to speak to the media, but they can't regulate what he says.
I mean, I guess that's a
I don't
way to
remember
get
what he
around that.
said, but he kept saying the same banal nonsense no matter what they ask him.
Hmm.
Yeah, got away with it too. So I
Maybe she should just
guess
do that.
she could she could do the same thing. It's part of the deal that Grand Slam tennis players are obligated to appear for press interviews, says Tom Haller. Obligated. Huh. Like, I thought they were obligated to play. And beyond that, it was just whatever. Is there anything else they're
Or I
obligated to
mean,
do?
I would imagine like there is some sort of loose code of conduct, so you don't make the organization look bad.
Hmm. The organization could look bad because of one player who entered the tournament?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like say some NBA player said something like extremely racist,
Yeah.
and the NBA still allowed them to play in the playoffs or what have you. That'll put negative pressure on the NBA.
Yeah. I guess in this day and age, the NBA can't just be like, we can't control what a player says of his own out of his own free will. Able to like we can't stop them from speaking, but they can't really say that because I think Twitter is gonna come after them,
Yeah. I,
and
I,
then
I
go on.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I don't know if this is within the contract. Like, what are the bounds of what you're allowed to say? Like, it's not like there's a set rule book of these topics you can't discuss or these opinions you can't have. So is it just like, oh, we are within our rights um to void a contract if you do something that we I don't know can't politically endorse. I don't know.
Politically endorse. It's the NBA.
Yeah, still though. I mean, if like look at Colin Kaepernick when he took a knee.
Yeah.
Like the NFL couldn't take a neutral stance on that
How come?
because of political pressure
Hmm.
from society.
Society. It's like it's a guy
From
taking a knee. What's the big deal?
to you and I, it's not a big deal, but I mean, if you have enough pressure, you're going to have to do something about it, or you're going to feel the side effects from either ad revenue or fan support.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that whole Colin Kaepernick situation, I think, got way out of hand. But I feel like Twitter has a lot to do with it. I think Twitter has given a voice to people who normally would get upset by things like this, but wouldn't have such a loudspeaker to scream out of and actually have people hear them. And I think it also amplifies the amount of people who are actually upset by these things. I think Twitter makes it seem as if there's more people upset than there really are. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, no, this is definitely a product of the social media.
Hmm. Like, what are you talking about? Colin Kaepernick. Were regular
I
people really all that pissed off about it?
I can never tell.
No.
Like people in my cultural circle, I guess, didn't really care, but I wouldn't be surprised that there are genuinely people who care a lot. I mean, like we say that, oh, this is just a Twitter thing, this is a social media thing, but like unless we're assuming Twitter is just filled with the bots,
Mm,
these are people
yeah.
somewhere.
Monkey Cat, welcome to the stream.
Hi.
Oh. HK Kirby, welcome to the stream.
Hello.
Oh.
What's up?
Yes.
Hello, hello.
Hmm. Something else I was gonna say about Twitter. These are all right. The other day, because long weekend, Memorial Day, and all that. And I remember yesterday Vice President. What was her name again? Damn it.
Like Vice President of the United
Of the
States?
United States. Yeah.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala
Come on.
Harris.
Yes, Kamala Harris. Yes. She said, enjoy your long weekend. That's it. That was the tweet.
How dare she?
People were upset.
That witch.
You're kidding. People
People were upset.
What is there to be upset over to say enjoy the long weekend?
Well,
What people? Like
yeah,
what
people?
Like
Even
was
when
it
the figure
conservatives or
deserves no
liberals?
such obedience.
Because I feel like that's more of a conservative thing to be made.
The Grim Sleeper, thanks for the subscription, homie. A conservative thing? I don't know. I think. You think people were just looking for a reason to be upset with her? Doesn't matter what it is or what she says.
Yes.
They'll twist it in some way to justify them being upset.
I mean, it's so neutral. It's not anything.
Well,
Like,
the rationale was that they said that Memorial Day is supposed to be a day for remembrance of servicemen and women and the sacrifices they made, which is true, but you also get a long weekend out of it.
I mean, as a U.S. resident, the vast percentage of people do not do anything special on Memorial Day. They don't.
What are you supposed to do?
As
I don't
another
even-
U.S. citizen, I concur.
Yeah. But like
I mean, the
traditionally,
idea-
what are Americans supposed to do on Memorial Day?
Like put up a flag, maybe have a barbecue. Really, there's no set tradition here.
No?
So basically display patriotism.
Pretty much, yeah. Just vague patriotism.
At the very least. And then enjoy 4 days of not working.
That's really what it's about, just not having to work. We all know it.
We will honor the sacrifices made by our forefathers by just chillaxing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Since I stand by the theory that a hardcore right wing and a hardcore left wing are closeted LGBTQ+ that never got the love and support they needed growing up. He's saying that political extremists are all have all been deprived of attention and are all either on part of the LGBTQ community in some way, shape, or form.
I would like to say that, to be fair to these weirdos, I don't know if most of them started out seeking attention, but at this point, I think they really love the attention. Whether or not that's true or not.
Like, I think most of these people are just trolls that don't really mean what they say and just want attention.
It's hard sometimes, like, to distinguish the difference. I suppose.
Yeah, because you don't see the face behind the screen, so
Even when the figure deserves no such obedience.
You can't really judge a person because of a tweet, no matter what cancel culture says.
Is it okay if I tell a story about this? This is a short story.
Sure, go ahead. Hey, before John Salami, welcome to the stream, man.
Welcome, John.
Yeah.
So, there's this woman who runs a YouTube channel, Cat Black. I don't really know a lot of her content, but she talks about like black issues in America, and I don't necessarily agree with her. But recently she came under a smear campaign after a Twitter user said that she misrepresented how people of color are treated in the US or something like that, and like basically started a smear campaign on her for talking about black issues. And then it turns out that that person was actually a white dude from like California or some such who just wanted to drill up attention for himself.
Attention for himself?
That same guy would later pretend to be like a lesbian woman and then say that bisexual people need to be like purged or something.
Oh, so it sounds like a troll.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes,
was gonna ask.
definitely a troll. People tend to use whatever convenient excuse is necessary at the time to get what they want, and that guy wanted attention. And it's very easy to drum up attention with appeals of emotion like that on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it keeps happening over and over again.
And it is true that it can be very difficult to distinguish trolls from people who actually mean what they say. So sometimes you really gotta look like, is this a troll? Am I getting trolled? Even though they might be saying the most batshit insane nonsense, they could be sincere. But there's no way to tell over Twitter, because another thing that people don't seem to understand about Twitter is that it's all text. And that makes it excessively dangerous. When people read text, they tend to apply whatever emotion they're currently feeling to the text. So if, like, for example, you offered someone some homemade chili and they text you back saying no thanks, if you're having a particularly bad day, you're probably gonna read that as them being sarcastic, like no thanks, as if, what, my chili sucks? How dare you? It's very easy to do, and then the whole misunderstanding happens. I think 90% of Twitter arguments are complete misunderstandings.
Like, people assume hostility sometimes in arguments where you're just like, oh no, I just thought we were just having a chat.
Exactly.
You know, and it's like, well, like as you said, it changes it from where you can distinguish what the person is saying from them. You can only distinguish what they're saying from you. You're in control of the emotion that they're portraying rather than what they're actually saying.
Yeah, and also on top of text being so difficult to read emotions off of, you're only working off of what is it, 480 characters? So now people are abbreviating shit. They're leaving certain, sometimes letters or entire words out so it can fit. And so misunderstandings they're expected. There's no avoiding them. And instead, what are people doing? They're trying to have deep philosophical and ideological political discussions via Twitter. Are you out of your mind?
Like, with the clout game that comes with like likes and shares, it isn't really, there's an incentive against open and honest communication. Like, you don't want to necessarily admit that the other side has a point, because you're trying to dunk on them. You're trying to kind of show that you're trying to make a fool of them, and in doing so garner likes and shares for yourself. So it doesn't behoove you to sit down and say, oh, you know what, you actually did kind of have a point here.
People aren't actually trying to learn or understand one another's point of view. They're just looking to pat themselves on the back and jerk themselves off, I guess. Be like, I won. To give themselves some primal sense of self-satisfaction.
True.
Pretty pathetic.
Or the satisfaction also comes from people in your in-group. So if everyone who already holds your opinion on any given subject,
even when the figure deserves no such
continues
obedience,
to validate you.
Z Styles, thanks for the follow, homie. The follow. That means over on Twitch. Appreciate it, homie. We're gonna have a lot of fun together, man. Trust me. Someone, damn it, Kenny came and left. But Kieran is here over in the stream. Nice to see you here again, man. I might have some good news. I might be able to get back to my apartment tomorrow.
Nice.
So if I get there early enough, then I might be able to get that Mass Effect stream going.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
The idea being that because I wanna make videos using the footage. but I also don't want the stream to be. I want the stream to be engaging. So I don't know if you all heard about this idea I had, where I pretty much just let the audience pick everything. You know what I mean? Every single choice. Although the like the what do you call that? Like the choices that are on a time limit, those are gonna be tough. Not sure how I'm gonna do those yet.
So you mean like every single dialogue option?
No, more like major choices,
Okay.
like Samara or Morant, like that.
Well, if you go with
Samara.
more to maybe add some complications to your overall stream.
No kidding.
May never get to Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, but I don't know. Whatever people pick, I'll leave some hard saves along the way. Just in case. I guess also people can choose who we end up shacking up with.
Yeah. The most important choice of all in a Mass Effect
Exactly,
game.
yes. Or we can do something really radical and don't get down and dirty with anyone at all.
Ooh.
Oh, Feral might like that.
Go complete single life. The asexual playthrough.
Can you resist the temptation, Papito?
I have a very difficult question to ask you.
Shoot.
M-Shep or F-Shep?
Oh well, that's up for the people to decide.
Because, to be honest, I can make a passable imitation of M-Shep, but not F-Shep.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily passable, but I managed to get my dad to laugh to it one time.
You can do a Mark Mir impersonation.
Specifically, I think I can do like a pretty funny parody voice about renegade choices. Like, it's a big, stupid jellyfish.
Or I should go.
Nah, I should go.
That kind of sounds like you though.
I try, you know.
Don't worry about it. Warlord David, welcome to the stream, man. No, nothing. Oh well.
Alright,
So I think
I'm gonna do one
no,
more,
go
but
ahead.
just for my own benefit. Report to the ship immediately.
Hi.
We'll bang, okay?
Unless we
I'm
go
just like
asexual.
writing.
Oh hey.
I was just thinking there, just for the time choices that you were saying, would there be any software you could use to like pause the game or like pause the system so that way the choice could then be made by the audience and then pick it?
Like a Twitch plays Mass Effect.
Like, yeah, something like that. Or
Oh. Or people Twitch or like Twitch and YouTube plays me playing Mass Effect. Yeah. But Liara, best waifu.
For the Mass Effect remaster, are they adding any new like companions earlier on in the game or anything?
Nah, it's the same game.
No, it's all same.
And if they did that, then would they really qualify as a remaster? Still? Or is it a remake now?
Yeah, there's characters that like were in the story supposedly during the first game, but you could romance someone like the third or second game. And I'm just curious, like you could get them in the first game because that'd be kind of cool.
That would be
Not
cool, but
everything's the same.
didn't happen.
Right. In the original development cycle, they decided to go a different way, and that's the way the remaster's gonna.
The only difference is there's less now. Like the DLC in the first game isn't there.
Yeah, they lost it apparently. Pata something station, I think.
So
it was
there's
called.
less content.
Pinnacle Station.
Pinnacle
Yeah,
Station, yeah.
To be
Honestly,
honest,
we could,
not a great loss because that DLC was just terrible.
No, it was just
We
it
can
was
do
just an
without
arena
Pinnacle
mode
Station.
that like a lot of games back then had.
Yeah, but out of all the DLCs, I thought this one really just wasn't worth it. So I'm not really sad it's gone.
Hmm. Like it didn't really
I
have
don't
any
think it's-
story content, so yeah, it's fine.
you could get an apartment, but you can't even sleep in it or really do anything in it.
In Mass Effect 1?
Yeah, by completing all the Pinnacle Station stuff, you get the Admiral or whoever's apartment.
Ah, I don't remember that.
Honestly, the apartment that you get from Anderson in the Citadel DLC for 3 is just way better. Maybe they took notes from the apartment that you could get from Pinnacle.
Yes.
I mean,
I don't even
the
remember the
Citadel
apartment.
DLC has an battle mode, so yeah, I think.
And the arena mode in Citadel is way cooler. On top of that, thanks
Yes.
for pointing that out.
Yeah, you can even have Mass Effect 2 companions there, so.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you get the mechanics from Mass Effect 3 and 2 and Mass Effect 1?
It's more like there are new features that make it more similar to like Mass Effect 2 and 3, but it's still mostly the same.
Well, I was thinking about like, so the leveling system for the games, if it's a remaster or all put in together, because I didn't really research the game that much or anything, then level 1 skills, some of them are repeated, right? And then other ones are completely different and like they do more damage in Mass Effect 2 than they do in Mass Effect 3 or they do in Mass Effect 1, which I think would just be confusing to like play through in terms of character progression. Because the games are separated, if I remember correctly.
Kieran, welcome to the stream, man.
Yeah, most of the skills don't translate from 1 to 2. Like there's no assault rifle skills.
What's happening, man? How's it going? I was fucking muted there, man.
You were?
Aye.
Huh. But yeah, I'm interested to see because they changed the gameplay up for Mass Effect 1 to make it feel more modern, and interested to see what they did with it.
I'm kind
It is
of
better.
interested too. A little bit dreading, a little bit excited for it because I honestly think the gameplay is the worst aspect of 1, even if it's satisfying at some points. But I don't know.
It's easier to aim, especially like I don't know if you guys remember, but the sniper rifle. If you didn't have a high enough skill in
Ugh.
sniper
The
rifles, like
sniper rifle was terrible in Mass Effect 1, yeah. I
Yeah, it was
remember it.
impossible to aim.
Like, my
But-
first playthrough was as an infiltrator,
Yep, mine
and that
too.
was just nightmare.
I kept playing
Yeah, it wasn't
Infiltrator
even
too.
it wasn't even worth using until you skilled it up enough. But now
Yeah,
you
and
can aim it fine.
besides, the pistol is, like, more than enough. Like, my last playthrough was as an adept, and I only used the pistol, and I just breezed through the game.
I mean, in the first game, at a certain point, you can get to a point with the pistol where it never overheats. You just keep firing, even like almost like it's an automatic pistol, and it never overheats.
That was
Is
the
it possible to learn this power?
That was my favourite part of Mass Effect 1, man, was when you get into the game plus and you get all the weapon mods, man.
Yeah.
And you can go about with like 0 repercussions on your accuracy or cooldown on the weapon. Just walk about holding the trigger, man. It's like, what the fuck?
Oh, Pharaoh
And
didn't like it
biotics
that's
either.
what I
Mass
was
Effect
wondering.
1 were really overpowered. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem with like going from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, because like if you don't have a good carryover, then you went from being like a powered like badass and then you're still the same character. You apparently have all the same skills, and you go to Mass Effect 2, and none of that stuff would work.
Yeah. In my last trilogy playthrough, playing as an adept in Mass Effect 2 was not exactly ideal, but I got through with it somehow.
Yeah, but Mass Effect 2 made it make somewhat some sense, like story wise, because like you get kind of like,
Dead.
yeah, I don't know about spoilers and everyone, man. I know it's an
Yeah.
old game and that, but
I mean,
Still,
I
yeah.
guess it's not really a spoiler since it
Yeah.
happens immediately.
yeah. So anyway, fucking, you obviously die.
It's the beginning of the game. I don't
and
think
they-
it's a spoiler.
Aye, and they spend so much money on putting you back together, Cerberus.
Mhm.
So it's like almost like what you call it, like it's like therapy when you're like getting back to walking like after a car accident or something like that. So it's kind of like that. So it makes
Also-
sense. Like the
Also,
skill
did
tree-
you notice
make-
in that first scene
Aye, so-
how they have a similar type thing where Sarah talks about there's a trade-off between control and functionability, and Cerberus has the same problem with Shepard.
So anyway, the thing is, it makes somewhat sense, like things being locked behind, needing to learn them again and all that. But I don't remember the story going from Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3.
First
It
of all, Logical,
doesn't
welcome to the
really make
stream.
sense.
Oh, thank you.
Kenny, welcome to the stream.
Yo, what's good, man?
Yes. The story between Mass Effect 2 and 3, there's the Arrival DLC, and then there's Shepard sitting on his ass for like a couple months.
All right, so that's why he lost all his skills. Then that makes sense.
I guess.
Well, it also makes sense if you literally die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
That's what I was talking about. For Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2, it makes sense, you know. But Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3 doesn't really make any sense.
Wasn't there some carryover of XP or skills between Mass Effect
There
2 and
is.
3 if you loaded up a save file?
Last time,
Yeah,
I
there
remember-
is.
I
mean,
think
there's
all
the
your
same way-
abilities were there, but there was much more to upgrade. So, yeah.
And I
Like
mean,
if you
from
had
a
the
game
level
design-
4 in Warp, for example, you had level 4 in Warp in Mass Effect 3.
I see.
Honestly-
In Mass Effect 1, carried over decisions. So Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 is only decisions. Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3 was experience too.
Well, you also get some money at the start of Mass Effect 2 if you were rich in Mass Effect 1.
Yes,
you get an
like there's a
extra-
certain percentage of your credits are like okay, whatever.
credits.
And if you load a save file from Mass Effect 1 to 2, I think you get an extra skill or some skill bonus.
I think you get
I'm pretty
some
sure.
you start off with some extra Paragon and Renegade points.
That and
You
I'm
get
pretty
a
sure-
few level ups, I think.
Okay.
But about the unique abilities, you only get them after doing the loyalty missions.
Though, is okay. The first time I played Mass Effect 3 was after finishing a playthrough of 2, and I managed to get enough XP that I leveled up most of my Shepard's abilities at the start of 3, which was immensely satisfying to play with high-level stuff near the beginning. You know?
Yeah, I bet.
Well,
Well,
they didn't
that's
want-
awkward.
I think that I think that would be satisfying in Mass Effect 2 to 3, but like if you did it from Mass Effect 1 to 2 and then you had high level stuff all the way through 2, that's what I was saying about like the remaster where it's kind of like I don't know how they do level progression. Like I
Well,
think
it's
that'd be very
easy.
boring.
You were a complete badass by the end of 1, but then you got blown up and then asphyxiated in space, and then you had all your gear basically damaged by it. Your ship was gone, so all of your lockers were too. Then you laid on the table for a year as you were completely rebuilt piece by piece with various experimental pieces of technology that weren't really well understood, and you're back. So
I have to mention Rex's
It's like this
reaction to
story.
you dying in space is absolutely priceless. When you tell him, he's like, "Oh," and then you tell him like, "We don't have redundant organs, Rex." And he's like, "Oh, then that must have hurt."
That's my favorite joke too. Like, oh, you guys are way squishier than I thought. Sorry.
Don't Krogans have 3 hearts?
They got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they got a bunch of multiple stuff that they can like.
Yeah, I
repair out of the
remember
last
one
one.
conversation with Gareth about a certain genophage affected part of Krogan physiology. And that joke he made just killed me when I first heard it.
They have 2 hearts, 4 lungs.
2 hearts, 4
lungs.
lungs.
Ooh.
Almost sounds like the best of the Space Marines, isn't it? The Aristartes.
They have multiple organs too.
Order.
I was
Oh
thinking
god,
of
an entire
Klingons.
species of space marines.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're like that overpowered way, like Space Marines are. Well, not really overpowered if you keep them in the 40k universe, but
Yes.
overpowered.
Warhammer's overpowered.
But overpowered.
I just realized that
Never mind, go ahead.
I just realized that we never see a Quarian that uses biotics. So is there
Quarian
some?
that uses biotics.
Yes, I guess the implant would be risky for Quarians, but it's never really explained exactly.
Are you
Well,
sure?
in free
Isn't there,
multiplayer
like,
mode, you could play as a Quarian adept, but that's just the multiplayer mode.
Yeah.
I mean, in the
plus-
multiplayer, you could play as a collector, so I don't think that really counts as canon.
Well, it does kind of count in that there's like a reference to it at some point in 3. Like, the multiplayer isn't completely disconnected in 3, but it doesn't really matter much if you're playing just the single player.
There
reading
could be a reason for that. I actually was just thinking about it. So the Quarians, if I remember correctly, they were some of the last people to get space like technology and things, and they were technically used as like soldiers and in a way kind of like slaves. It could be they just weren't given those. Like they given it.
I think the Krogan had space technology after the Quarians.
I think he mixed up the Quarians with the Krogans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Krogans
Anyway,
got
yeah,
nuclear
Okay,
warfare
never
and
mind,
they
my bad.
destroyed their planet, I think.
Yeah,
Quarians
that my bad.
Like
Quarians are
they got
technically
uplifted
broken.
and they couldn't handle the how to work with technology, so they just blow themselves up.
They got technology too advanced too quickly.
Yes.
They got from the Solarians, I think.
Yeah, to fight the Arachni.
Right. And they were like, now what do we do? No, build nukes, I guess.
Guess I'll die.
Yeah.
I like Ferrell's comments, man. Mass Effect 2 Andromeda 2 Mass Defect.
Mm.
That
His
made me
teeth.
Yeah.
Would people want a continuation of the Andromeda storyline? I haven't played it myself, but
I haven't either.
How well it's done. Well, I haven't played it either, but I would imagine it depends how well it's done. And if there's like, because there was very little tie-in between the Mass Effect universe and the Andromeda. You know, I know it's like 600 years past and all that, but you would think it'd be a lot more story tie-ins and that bits and pieces and things like that. Which I found quite annoying. It would have been interesting if it was more content now, but was there a lot?
I would like to apologize,
mean-
gentlemen, but I have to leave. Duty calls.
Ah, it's a shame.
See ya.
You should
Have a good-
apologize.
I'll see you
How
later,
dare
man.
you?
Peace.
Take
Till next
care,
time.
man.
Thanks for coming in.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Do your duty.
Now, there is a new Mass Effect in the works as well. But
That's all.
if I had to guess, it's not a continuation of Andromeda, since Liara Tassoni was in the teaser trailer.
Is it to Sony? Might be a prequel then.
No, I don't
No,
think
this
they
is
would do
supposed to
that.
be after the Reaper War, so.
Yeah.
But then I wonder how are they going to deal with the elephant in the room that is Mass Effect 3's ending?
That's
Like, will they
Um,
consider Destroy to be the canon ending, or?
I don't know. I mean, there have been games in the past that just went like they all happened somehow, some way.
Yeah, Deus Ex 1 did that.
Yeah, well, no, Deus Ex 2.
The Deus
Invisible
Ex
War.
2, yes, with
Yeah.
Deus Ex 1's endings.
Yeah, it's just like they all happened.
Yeah, and it didn't really make sense, to be honest.
Like, yeah. I guess not. Man, I
Well,
cannot
I mean, like
get
the
Invisible
first
War to
Deus
work.
Ex game looks like it's about like well, at least the setup is that all the conspiracy theories are true. So honestly, it actually kind of does make sense if you think about it. If we're going with that sort of logic.
No, that's not great. Not every single conspiracy theory is true. Like the reptilian elite isn't a thing in Deus Ex.
Well, I mean, like to be fair, there's only so many you can actually make true.
Yeah.
Bob
So you're
Page
saying
was a
that-
lizard confirmed.
Bob Page was a lizard.
That's why I was
Llama
alarmed with
looking
some of them.
motherfucker.
Like the Jews are taking over the elite bankers. You know, they're like,
Even then
oh
the
wow,
figure deserves
okay,
no such
we're going there.
obedience.
Nah, they
Are you
didn't go there. They just went.
They did a little bit. They definitely did a little bit.
No, just they said Illuminati.
Like 100%.
Illuminati.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
they-
the elite bankers, and then they're like the Rothschilds, and you know,
yeah.
I'm like,
And the
okay,
Rockefellers.
I don't know. I mean, the game is kind of messed up at some points.
oh yeah.
Where it's like,
I mean, I haven't even played it.
yeah, where they're like, did you know that the land that the UN is built on was land donated by the Rockefellers? I was like, is that true? I looked it up. I'm like, oh shit. And they're like,
The
yeah.
Rockefeller.
Yeah. And they're
Are
like, have
the
you ever
third-
heard of the Trilateral Commission? No, I haven't. I looked it up. Huh, would you look at that? And you know who was a member of the Trilateral Commission? That dude who did kill himself, quote unquote. What a coincidence.
Yeah, I first played Deus Ex 1 in 2018. And I remember when you encounter the first terrorist leader, and he tells you about consolidation and tax rates, and like that really hooked me in. Like you could see that he kind of speaks the truth. Like he alludes to the
No.
Because,
Illuminati.
No.
It's like when because
No.
it just
like the
like
like,
that's
like
it but
he
in the
is too
future.
Do you even know
far-fetched,
what he
but
says? Logical.
No.
Logical hasn't played the game.
Sorry.
You don't even know what he says.
The
Like
scene where he
the-
talks about like all the proof, quote unquote proof for these conspiracies, and he's just going on about like, oh, what about the
Like
the
you have
low
a
tax
single
rates for
proof to
the
back
wealthy
that up.
and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I saw that scene, and like, there's no proof. It's just a
90%
lot
of
of
them.
you know,
1900,
coincidences and
90%
stuff
of
like that.
Americans were
That-
self-employed. Now it's about 2%.
Anecdotes.
number
And-
one.
and
That's
within
number
so
two.
within the
that's
logic, yeah, within the logic of the game, sure, but in terms of like logic in terms of real life, no.
I mean,
100% no.
In real life,
Well, it is the game.
the corporate tax rate.
That
What is it
the
right now?
content.
The corporate tax right now?
Yeah.
Well, it's
I
not
don't know.
accurate, but it's definitely lower than it was before. I think I saw a
It's
graph
definitely
about
low
it
as hell.
on the
But
internet.
that doesn't mean that there's some sort of cabal of rich people that are
Yeah,
controlling
yeah,
the world.
I'm not like saying that. It's just rich people tend to think alike, so they
I
do the
personally,
similar
yeah,
Not
stuff.
really.
in my opinion, I don't think the rich are just controlling the world, but they definitely have a lot of influence over the world.
Yes. Just by definition.
Absolutely.
Well, which rich people are we talking about? Because like our presidents are all rich people, so they.
The Rothschild-
I like to
Rothschilds?
I like to put, like, if you're gonna have a wealthy's taking over the world type thing, you might as well point to Bezos.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Like which rich people? Because some rich people have no influence. Other
But he
ones
stepped
have
down recently.
The
didn't he?
Rothschild family, they definitely have influence.
I think when
Yeah.
people say they're taking over the world, they mean through their wealth, not just, oh, there are people in power who happen to be rich.
Well,
Well,
I mean, like,
if you're
it's
talking
the
about
difference
wealth and
between
power,
somebody
we're
who
talking
has a
about-
lot of influence, you know, which is being rich, you know, being rich, you have a lot of power,
Well,
and then having control over the world. Like there's a jump of logic there.
I mean, the
mean-
thing is, Deus explains that though. Like the game explains it, which is it's about debt. If you have a bunch of money and then everyone's indebted to you, you own the world.
Kind of.
That's true.
I mean,
it's
it-
about leverage. I remember in the first cutscene, I would say, where they discuss about the senator
yeah.
and Walton Simon's been reassigned to FEMA, that they clearly state how they have leverage over him because they have the vaccine and he is infected. So, yeah, kind
he
of
gonna
like
do?
this.
But
Like,
just to be
you
clear,
don't
I'm not
really have
talking
a
about the
choice.
logic of the game. I'm talking about logic of real life.
Right. And in real life,
Yes, of course. I mean, in general, like leverage. As long as you have leverage, you can control people however you want.
Well, depending on the type of leverage, et cetera, et cetera.
like in real
Yes,
life,
of course. Yes.
in real life, does there seem to be an effort to make so corporations have more power and individuals have less power?
Sorry, repeat the question.
If you're
like a conscious
libertarian-
effort?
Have you heard of right to repair?
Right to repair? No?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing with Apple phones is you're not really allowed to fix it. Right to repair is kind of like, hey, we want to be able to fix our Apple phones and not have some sort of weird clause or whatever against that.
Okay.
Well, it extends beyond Apple. It's like even
That's an
John
example.
Deere tractors.
Yeah.
Like you need to be able to, like, you can fix legally, you can fix your tractor as a farmer, but the software is owned by the company and you need the software to be able to update in order to use your tractor. So functionally, you're not allowed to use your tractor without a software update. And so right to repair is like, it involves being able to basically modify your tech without being hampered by
rules and regulations.
Yeah.
Basically,
like let's say there's a bill being proposed that just so happens to be very much within the interest of certain corporations. How often does a bill like that get voted down?
Never.
I'd have
In the
to
United
look
States?
that up.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those type of things. Like we're describing something that is like a positive statement. It's descriptive. It's empirical. So in order to accurately answer that, we'd have to have some sort of evidence to back it up.
Hmm.
In
My-
the
my
last
goal-
20 years in the United States, the overwhelming majority of bills that have lowered taxes and made companies have more control have been just blankly passed to the point where like
you're talking
Amazon
about neoliberal policies.
Well, not just neoliberal policies, but even like policies that you wouldn't think of right away. But like this thing around the vaccines, there was policies and things passed that basically monopolized vaccine clinics. So a lot of vaccine places and factories that could make vaccines weren't allowed to use vaccines because they didn't have the opening for the patent for those vaccines. Now that was illegal 15 years ago, but basically 5 years, at 15 years ago, 5 years ago, they had a whole argument about that when it came to the AIDS epidemic. So the big corporations won out, and you're allowed to keep your patent even during a pandemic, which is kind of but that got passed almost 20 years after the AIDS epidemic. So like these things don't get passed when the crisis happens or when the company needs money. They get passed years, months before the company makes the money. If that makes sense.
Essentially, they really have to look to the future to really predict anything like this.
Yes,
To
and that's why
make these
a
kinds
bunch
of
of
plans,
people-
they have to be on a very long-term spectrum.
I'm not saying this is true, and I'm not saying I'm a conspiracy theorist or whatever, and I'm definitely not saying that people should go and act crazy or anything, but like that's why a bunch of people in the United States think that like companies and big rich people made the pandemic that we're in right now, the COVID, entire thing. So that's why people think
Don't have evidence.
people did that because It's like the evidence is scary, and if you look at it,
not evidence.
It's there.
That's not
It's
evidence.
there.
That's just circumstantial. Like,
It's
yeah,
it's
because companies are going to want to
circumstantial. That's
make
the
money.
problem.
You know, they want to make money, so
Right.
they're going to have those patents.
When
They're
that
going to use
money,
the system to get
when
money.
that money's one company, when that money's mostly one company, that's why people get upset. When it's one company, and they already had vaccines, and there have even some bad vaccines that get released. But like I would say, any company has that problem. But when it's 3 or 4 companies, it's not hard to see 3 or 4 companies with all leaders that know each other to just get in a room and go,
Well, so
look, we're going to make
the
some
technical
money.
term for that is a cartel in economics.
Yeah,
Just so you know,
but
it's an oligopic
the
form
healthcare
of
system is a cartel.
market.
Right, but the healthcare system is a cartel, and that's why you get people that say things like that. I don't believe in them, frankly. I believe like to do that, you would need government support, and you would need so many people that like you're not going to keep a secret. So
antitrust laws and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
I think
like,
more realistically.
It's easy.
Anyway, guys, I got to finish my chemistry homework, so
Alright, then,
maybe I'll return, maybe not.
Maybe. I'll see you
We'll
later,
see.
man. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. I'll see you next time, man. Peace.
Tidings.
Yeah, peace.
Bye.
Take
Primal.
care.
Yeah, Primal, what would you guys say?
I was just gonna say that like it's easy to fall into these conspiracy theories when like you know that these companies or corporations hold so much power, and yet you like there's such a thick veil between you and them. Like you know they're up to something. You know it's not for your benefit, but you have no idea what that may be. So like for the uneducated, or the scientifically illiterate, or the just conspiratorial minded, it's like I sympathize with like coming up with these theories as to what they may be doing, because like without the theories you're kind of left in the dark.
Well, not necessarily. There's evidence.
Well,
it's just harder to acquire.
Not obviously not entirely in the dark. We do have some idea what like Bezos is doing, but a lot of it is like there's a lot of information that we don't know within the corporate body.
Primal, you're right on the mark. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And the scary thing to me is like I actually study like business, and I'm trying to start my own and things like that. And I look at like market shares and these conferences and stuff. And the real conspiracy theories, they tell you what they are. Like they go, hey, we're going to put chips in everyone's brain. That's a thing that they're actually saying. That's a conspiracy theory. Like the real ones are out in the
Okay, so there's a difference between a conspiracy theory and a conspiracy. Conspiracy is a group of people conspiring or getting together to commit a crime, and a conspiracy theory is something that has no evidence and is just like some sort of ad hoc theory just thrown together to justify something.
Any real conspiracy theory is just a conspiracy. But like the real ones are things that your government will tell you that they're going to do or plan, and you can just blankly look at them and go, this is not in my benefit. And then we don't like do much about it. Like people don't do much about those ones. They would rather talk about like
what like what's an example of what you're talking
about?
about?
Evil people. Okay, so a simple one is the Patriot Act and the whole listening in, and Snowden blew the cover on that. But if you looked at the Patriot Act, and then you look at the extension of the Patriot Act, and you looked at every executive order that the presidents Obama and Bush gave out, you would just come to the conclusion that yes, the United States government, of course, is doing these things. And of course, they're giving them out to third parties, which they shouldn't be doing, because we already signed executive orders saying that they were allowed to do this. And
well,
then,
there's a difference between law and conspiracy.
We're getting real political now, ladies and gentlemen.
Like, that was a conspiracy theory to people. Like when I was younger, and I told people the government listens to all of our conversations. My parents looked at me like I was insane.
Well, I mean, like there was the Sedition Act before that, which was passed by Wilson, and I think there was even was it Adams? No, but the Sedition Act by Wilson is just way objectively way worse. Like you literally weren't allowed to criticize the government and press and stuff like that around World War I.
John Adams did the same thing as well. Yes, you're right. So you said Adams. John Adams.
I wouldn't call it conspiracy. I would call that just bad laws and like authoritarian laws.
Well, I mean, you could have a conspiracy that's based on the law. Like
Yeah, but
the
that would be a
function of the
collusion
law.
of different entities that are trying to commit an illegal action, just by definition.
This is how I would put it. This is
But
how I
it's
put it.
not
Instead of
mutually
going with
exclusive.
semantics, I mean the simple idea, and I like really I don't want to get too much into it because some of it's personal for me, because I know people who are in those industries. But anytime that your government or leaders or high worth individuals, so high net worth, high influence, high
People of
political
the upper
control,
crust.
right, well, like people of the upper crust, when they try to hide actions that they know is to the majority's negative effect, and it's beyond just their selfish like ones, like yes, it's selfish, but like I'm helping out my friend and my other friend, and like all of us got together, we're all upper crust people, and we all decided this. That's where I say, okay, that's the modern term of a conspiracy, because they're hiding something from you, or they're attempting to hide something from you, even though they're blankly going after it. And they've been caught doing this. The United States government and many governments in the past, throughout all of history, have been caught doing these things. And I think that
Okay.
it's not
Just
it's not
just a
hard
little.
to sit there and go,
You're conflating both government and the upper crust. Like modern day upper crust is more working class.
Said, like anybody who holds influence or power over a great many of people who can make two decisions, and like they can change huge markets and things like that. So I included people with high influence too, because like open a conspiracy here is the church, certain church members of like Christian groups and everything have huge influence in the United States due to a couple of high influence individuals. They weren't rich, they weren't wealthy, they just knew people and they talked and they made organizations left and right. And now you have like a whole deep rooted like religious problem on the Republican side of the United States government, where like they're
like
battling over
megachurches and stuff
religion.
like that.
Even
Not
when the
just
figure
mega
deserves
churches,
no
but
such
like
obedience.
small covens where they're like basically like there's like small groups that are
Are you talking
full
like
of
cults?
wealthier individuals. Are they classified as cult? I don't know if the family.
Well, the definition of a cult.
coven
Well,
is,
I should say the characteristics that composite a cult is: one, you have to
I
have a
don't. I
charismatic
don't want to
leader;
call it.
two, you have to
on a
have thought
public,
reform; and three, there has to be some sort of exploitation.
on a public forum. I'm not going to call anybody a cult unless they're classified as a cult.
Classified by
So
who?
would they? As in classified by the government as like,
FBI,
we
usually.
recognize you as a cult. Yeah, like the FBI has to recognize them as a cult. I don't think the FBI recognizes certain ones as a cult, but I can think of a couple. But like there's one in DC that Netflix did a whole thing on. They had Netflix the family, and yeah, they exist because I've gone by and like, oh yeah, they totally did set up the prayer meetings and things. Prayer meeting, the national prayer meeting was set up by like 4 individuals, and it was to fight communism. But now it's like a giant lobbying event. So
Interesting.
like that's the thing, like what people don't get about government. And I think that this is why everyone should study ancient Rome, which is like things like the Pontifex Maximus, who served Jupiter and watched over a bunch of virgins who watched over a fire, turned into the modern day Pope. Like he has the title Pope because it's Pontifex Maximus.
There is some level, like I could see where your logic is going, but I wouldn't go like. But why do you say that it converted to the Pope? Because we're talking about completely different religions.
They just
that's
adapted the name.
Well, no, it was a title. They were actually given the Roman title of Pontifex Maximus.
Well, like a Pontifex is different, and then
emperors.
Pontifex Maximus is just the Pontifex of all, the biggest, the greatest one.
So, but here's the interesting thing about that I think people don't like get is like we make laws and ideas and we make government structures. But once these structures are established, they're harder to get rid of than it is to like establish them. And by the time you get like 100 years down the line, they look nothing like what they were supposed to. And I guess it's frustrating for me because I deal with a lot of people who like will turn around to me and be like, well, the family fathers said, and I'm like, family fathers died 200 something years ago. I'm sorry, but like everything they wrote and everything they made just isn't the same anymore. Just isn't the same.
It's more what's the term? Oh goodness, just went out of my head. Anachronistic, I think is the term. Yeah, anachronistic.
Anachronistic.
Yeah.
It's like
term of it.
there's a separation of time. You know, things don't quite fit in. Because the Electoral College would be a good example. Like, Electoral College was initially to get around the problem of not having the infrastructure to get everyone to vote. So we said, like, okay, everyone has a little bit of extra representation within their states, and we can have a federal election from that. But now we have the post office, for one big example, and other types of, let's say, our technology has gotten around the problem of the infrastructure not being able to sustain a popular vote election. So, you know, the Electoral College is not as
But
relevant
that's not
anymore.
like
Trolls in the stream says
What were
the
you asking?
title Pontifex was used of Roman Catholic bishops and Pontifex Maximus of the Pope by the end of the 4th century. In modern usage, both terms generally refer to the Pope.
Is it from the same tradition?
Yep, same traditions. It's the same traditions, and that's the thing that like people like they don't have that carryover. And a good example in history, and this frustrates me, and I go out of my way to correct people, and they get frustrated with me. But I like if anybody calls the Byzantine Empire, I generally will probably yell at them and be like, no, it's the Eastern Roman Empire. If they fight me on it, I will be like, this is the Eastern Roman Empire.
Those are the
like,
same. They're just synonyms.
Yeah, they're the same thing with different names.
You don't have to get mad at people for using a synonym.
Yeah.
Can I explain though a little bit? The reason why is because this goes into my political ideology of like the Roman Empire started as a kingdom, and like the fact that we separate it and we say, well, this isn't really Rome anymore from like a historical mental point of view means that we're separating people who have the same lineage of culture and beliefs and ideas. And that's what's the hard part about like when I go talk about government and stuff is I have a huge knowledge on history, and most people can't relate back to stuff that's happening right now towards the stuff that happened under Nixon and Reagan. And then the stuff that happened under Nixon and Reagan relates back to stuff that happened in World War I with the protests and marches that veterans did right before Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected. Like, our country looks very similar towards the golden
Wait.
And like,
Wait.
people don't do
Did
that.
you just say like the stuff that was happening between like during Nixon and Reagan, and then Franklin Delano Roosevelt got elected? Did you just is that something you meant to say?
I said that they have a lineage. They have a linkage, as in like there's a lineage.
So the thing is, my problem is
and
FDR was elected before those presidents. In fact, Nixon was the last New
I
Deal
know I said
president.
it backwards. I was going backwards in time. So
Okay.
FDR,
Well, then
FDR
it would
was
be Reagan,
there, but I
then
was
Nixon,
saying,
then FDR.
Wait a minute.
yeah,
Reagan
no, that's
was
not what I
bef-
was saying. I was saying that I was saying that before Nixon and Reagan, the same political ideologies and the same arguments made by them were the same arguments that the people who were fighting Franklin Delano Roosevelt were fighting him. They're the same arguments that his competitors and his opponents were giving towards him when the country went through the Great Depression. It's the same lineage of thought.
So just a minor thing. So Reagan was a part of the New Right, they neocons, and their whole thing was to smack down the New Deal and stuff like that. They're reactionaries,
right? But they came
wait,
out.
I think I might get that wrong. I think I might have had that wrong. Is that's probably someone else, right? When did the right start? Right. I see. I know that they're the neocons, but I don't know if
that was considered the beginning of the New Right. But I don't think they called themselves a New Right at that time. Just to make it clear, I don't think they called themselves a New Right. But that was the beginning of the New Right.
And of course,
that's the thing I'm talking about.
According to one historian, there's Nixon was kind of regarded as the last New Deal president because of just like how much shit he did.
Mm.
But yeah,
continue. But taking it back to Deus Ex, I guess. Unless Warlord David, you had more to say?
No. This is a frustrating topic, and I don't really want to be frustrated.
I think you dropped the mic there, Warlord David.
Yeah.
just we'll end it at this. Byzantine and Rome are synonyms.
And
there we
go. Cultures, all that. all that good stuff. Because going back to that scene in Deus Ex with the NSF commander, I remember hearing a few years ago about this Princeton study that, according to it, the United States calls itself, whatever you want to call it, a constitutional republic with a democratic system, but it functions.
Constitutional republic.
Yes, but it functions as a plutocracy, and by that saying that any new policy that is in the
I should actually look up this
good
study.
favor that benefits like the rich, corporations and such, for the most part they get passed, while anything populist does not. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of that study. I need to look it up. I want to see what sort of things they say, because when it comes to these sort of things, there's what people say the paper says, and then there's what the actual paper says.
I have a question here, actually, for that statement, like, and just get your like thoughts on it. When you say pass, does that include just bills and laws, or does that include also like actions, beliefs, votes, elections? Because like those are totally different things. They can all be under the broad terminus of passed. If you get what I mean by that.
Sorry, I was reading this. What would you say that again?
So like when they say passed, like anything populist doesn't get passed. Does that include like elections, actions, certain like committees? Like pass is a big word. Like, are we just talking legally, or are we talking like anything populist? If that, am I making sense there?
I'm not sure exactly. Like what's the warrant that you're asking here? Like, are you asking?
So like for instance, for instance, Trump, I would say, is a populist president, and therefore, like if you consider him being passed as president, like he succeeded at getting president, you would argue that a populist movement or a populist thing worked. But if we're talking about like the laws that President Trump then passed into law, they were very beneficial towards ultra wealthy and wealthy and rich people, very up there people. So like when they say pass, does it mean just legally, or does it mean like also like elections, or like I want a statue taken down? Because like
so you're talking about populist people versus populist policies.
Yes, yeah. Like if we're saying populist in general, I would have to say absolutely not. The other way around, yeah, I've heard that theory. And like if we're just talking legally, maybe.
No, I was just talking about like just policy.
Oh, then yeah, I actually agree with that.
Yeah. Something like healthcare or something.
About the study, but I can't find it anymore. That claims that 91%. Hey, yeah, thanks. 91% of elections are won by sides or individuals who are more financially banked, like statistically. Like, I don't want to say anything because I don't even really understand how the American election system works, but it's definitely looks like a big strange coincidence.
Well, Quinn, I there's a really simple way of answering that, which is we have a two-party system, and you have to have at least a couple $1 million to run for Congress. Like to win Congress, most like $2 million, $3 million, $4 million is like a low estimate for Congress. The presidential elections as of this year have reached billions to run and win billions. My country is a little messed up now.
So
billions of dollars become president.
Should we have a Discord discussion? Because the idea was to have a Discord discussion regarding a certain scene in Deus Ex, the one with the bartender in China. But should we go through other scenes like the one with the NSF commander as well?
Which bartender in China do you mean? The one that talks about the second man, or
Oh, first of
the
all,
one that talks about democracy versus China's dictatorship?
K Moore, welcome to the stream, homie.
Hello, how are we doing today?
Yes, hello.
Greetings.
I mean the one that talks about China's dictatorship. He says, the country is authoritarian but willing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you want to make that a whole separate video?
Yeah, a whole separate stream. I figured I would announce it early. So maybe people want to come in, prepared.
Indeed.
Yeah. So should we do
Yeah, I'll
that
do
for
it.
like other scenes in the game too?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it like you did the discussions of Krea's prophecies.
Yeah. We still got a few of those left to go through actually. Like the war because politics again. Onderon versus Onderon, Faklu versus
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fuck was her name, yeah. Yeah, we never did that one.
Versus
That might
did
turn into
anybody
clusterfuck.
play?
Go on.
Did anybody play SWOTOR and realize that Enron went through another civil war like again? They just played the same story a second time.
That
I haven't
happened. Wait,
played
what?
Switchboard that far.
Oh, SWOTOR?
Yeah, so the SWOTOR expansion, I didn't play it, but I watched it on YouTube. I was like watching some videos and I was like, oh wow, they just did KOTOR 2 on Onderon again. A second time. It even ended with them having a sword fight. It was like a parody of KOTOR 2 because it was like a bad version of the KOTOR 2 argument, and like the beast people end up being Vakalu, and like the people in the city end up being Queen Talia, and they literally ended it with them having a sword fight at like the same like thing and everything. I was like, this is KOTOR 2. You guys just ripped it.
Wow. Nah, I never got to. I don't think I've ever went to Onderon during my tenure with SWOTOR.
Oh, SWOTOR is awful for the most part. I mean, I played it with you. I remember I joined in.
Yeah.
I said hi, but like for the most part, it's not fun enough for me to get to like past level 50 in the character stories. I'll like watch the main story afterwards on YouTube or something because it's all just one story. But generally, it gets tedious very fast to play. That is.
People kept telling me it gets better.
Yeah, they kept
Play it, and I really never got through with it further than at the beginning of Act 1. Like, I got so bored so quickly.
Gameplay wise, it's really not my thing.
Oh yeah.
The gameplay, it never gets better. Gameplay, it just never gets better. The story gets better, I think, and like certain classes have really interesting stories and they're fun to like do dialogue, but the gameplay never gets better. It's better if you could just play it at level 50 and everyone's a level 1 and you just instantly kill them so you can go through the story. The game would be way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the exploitative mechanics, I would, like, as mediocre as the story is, I would really have no problem with it. But people when they're talking about EA and just the worst of the atrocities they've committed, they always point to like Battlefront 2, or some other like single player campaign game. But SWOTOR is pretty much the worst in terms of like predatory practice.
And my
I mean,
my opinion is that like here's like a little anecdote that kind of I think really drives the point home. So one of the things is like I'm like watching the story, I'm like, what, it's like this person, and they're like, this person's just pissing me off or whatever, and I'm like, you just take your lightsaber and turn it on and like kill them with the blow. But then I was like, wait, you can't even do that. And then I was like reflecting on the combat where it's like you're literally hitting people like you're holding a foam baseball bat over and over again, and it kind of just completely degrades the whole mystique of the lightsaber. It just degrades the force in general. Like everything is just like toned down in terms of like how powerful it is or what you can do with it, like from the films to the game. And it's like
best story about it. The best story about the lightsaber is if you have the Jedi Warrior or the Sith Warrior campaign and you finally get your lightsaber, because like they don't give it you right away. All like good Star Wars games, they don't give you a lightsaber right away. You're like practicing, you're planning for it, and then you like get it, you build it. It's like this epic moment, and then you have to like after your character grabs it, right? He grabs it, he turns it on. It's like, oh man. And I went to go fight the enemy and didn't equip the lightsaber because you actually have to go into your inventory, despite the fact that enemies just spawned, equip the lightsaber, then hit them with the lightsaber and realize, oh, it does about the same amount of damage.
Yeah, and then to add what you're saying, and then you find out that the next lightsaber is just way better. So you drop it the nanosecond you build it. You're like, oh yeah, this is
even better. You can get a lightsaber early in the base release of the game. I know like the game has curtailed market and you can get a lightsaber at the beginning of like level 1. But if you leave and go to the space station using the shuttle, which you can leave at level 1, you can buy a lightsaber at level 6 at the market there for about $600. And it's slightly better than the lightsaber they will give you at the end of your quest.
I mean, a lot of this is just the nature of the MMO experience.
Yeah, but I feel like it doesn't really fit.
No, it shouldn't have been an MMO. Like that's the whole.
Well, it could be an MMO. I'd argue that it could be an MMO and still work. They just needed to not make it a classic like WoW style MMO.
They need to make a new engine and make a new MMO for it.
Yeah,
I mean, Troll says it was more significant at launch.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's still pretty. It has long legs. It's lasted for quite a while.
Indeed,
it's still pretty popular.
It's making money.
At launch,
let Primal speak. Let Primal speak. He's been trying to speak for all.
I appreciate it. But real quick, like I think that it can work as an MMO. Like I have played MMOs that have like a story that is actually engaging and that doesn't feel like the combat is like just very much disconnected from the story. But like some of the things I think just are like indicative of MMOs. In general, just like the multiplayer experience, the fact that like I go into to the Jedi Temple and I'm seeing like a bunch of like crazy looking people jumping around.
Well, even better,
it's just a circus.
Even better, you have a whole bunch. So you're like the only one who could stop this thing or this other thing. You're like you're like the prime guy, whatever. But then you also have like 80 other prime guys just walking around with the same companion.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like how special can you be if you're playing with a bunch of people who are exactly like you?
So your comments are probably going to blow up at this, but there was a Star Wars MMO that didn't have this problem. It was called Star Wars Galaxies.
I actually have it.
Just saying.
Yeah. Got shut
down. So you can get the emulator for it and you can get it set up. And if Logic has it, he could probably actually send you the game and you could probably get the emulator and stuff set up very easily. I don't own the game, so I can't do that. But
I mean, do I really
Yeah.
want to get involved in
One of the
any kind of
issues, though,
MMO?
one of the issues with it was the Jedi. Like they implemented the Jedi. I think that's what crashed the game, so to speak.
Yeah. I want a Star Wars game where basically you can pay an extra amount of money to be a Jedi normie. Like you can be like one of those people who like died in episode 3 by the clones marching on the temple and they like block like 2 blaster bolts. Like you can like, okay, pay me an extra $5, I'll make you a normie Jedi. And then everybody else, if you want to be like a special Jedi or even a normie Jedi, it's like a 0.2 or like 4% chance in game that you'll actually get to be force sensitive, and you have to go through real training and stuff because that's the problem with any Star Wars MMO is Jedi.
I think. Well, I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. I think there's probably ways you could structure the whole thing where, like if you have like a Republic system, and for example, and you're a Jedi, and like all of a sudden you start, attacking people or whatever, you could have like bounty systems where like the Jedi are like, oh wait, this person's going rogue, we need to kill him, and you could do stuff like that.
That
to
was
kind of,
Galaxies. That was Galaxies. Galaxies, when they first introduced Jedi, before they did their massive update and everyone become Jedi, that's how Galaxies worked. But the Galaxies, I think the thing is, if I want to do a Republic system and have 1,000 Jedi, I feel like you would have to put permadeath on. And that's why I was like, you can pay me extra money and I'll make you like a normie Jedi.
I feel like putting things behind paywalls like that, because like that quickly becomes microtransaction-y.
But you still have a chance of being a Jedi normally. I'm just guaranteeing your chance. And then you're a normie Jedi and like you suck. You're a horrible Jedi. Well, if you just spawn normally in the game, you have a much lower chance of being a Jedi, but you also have a chance of being like an Anakin Skywalker.
Even better. Instead of having like that paywall and like you suck and everything like that, more like it's a very large learning curve type thing where it's like you take a little bit to get your force powers up and stuff like that. So like, and then you have permadeath, and then having permadeath, like, yeah, you're not gonna be stupid, or you better not be stupid.
Right. That's what you would have. Like if you wanted to make a Star Wars MMO, you put Jedi in and you make it hard as hell to be a Jedi. Like you have to follow the code too. Like I wouldn't just make you a Jedi and be like, oh, you get force powers. No, you gotta like follow the code, be nice. The game will register if you start being
permadeath is a really good thing. Like having a large learning curve and then permadeath, and then everyone else doesn't have permadeath, just the Jedi.
That's how I do it. But here's the better part. We add the KOTOR 2 idea and like the Star Wars idea that force powers and like force people have influence. So if I added in a whole government system like EVE Online, you would have like extra influence on like factions and things. And like it would be really easy if you're like get really powerful and really good at being a Jedi, despite permadeath, you could actually start manipulating the galaxy. Like if you become an evil Sith Lord, you could go start a galactic war. But
that would be cool.
That's a complicated game at that point.
I would like a new Matrix MMO.
That would be interesting, maybe.
Yes, not like the old.
I didn't.
More survival elements in it. Like going into the Matrix, I want it to be extremely dangerous.
Hey, you could also do like training setups and stuff like that. Be like in like your safe place or whatever is the ship.
Well, I mean,
whatever ship that you're on.
So like
and then you can plug into the Matrix
between being a rebel or an agent.
No, the agents are AI, but they will kill you.
The only question is like, what are you gonna do inside this Matrix world? You'd have to set up objectives.
It would have to be very rewarding, but very dangerous. What was that, Prime?
I was just gonna say it could just be like a Sims game, until you like actually discover the Matrix.
Oh yeah.
Like people are just fucking around, buying houses, starting families.
That would be an interesting little like twist.
Yeah, but how many people are gonna stick around for that?
Well, they go in like it doesn't have to be too long. You go in and you're like, oh, I'm expecting this kind of game. You're like, whoa, what's going on?
Like, yes, people stick around for like, what was that game? Keep hearing stories about every once in a while. Space. Giant battles. Mining crap. EVE Online.
You know what MMO I would like? I would like an MMO in the World of Darkness universe, like Vampire the Masquerade
Yeah.
or
I think that
the
would
werewolves, mages. Like you have to follow the masquerade, and you have some objectives. Like, for example, you could participate in conspiracies in Camarilla and just hang out with anarchs and things like that.
and
If
if
any of
you
you played Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, then you probably know what I'm talking about.
and if you
Yeah.
break the masquerade too many times, your entire account gets deleted.
Yeah,
God.
essentially breaking the masquerade would mean permadeath.
Right, exactly. The whole character, poof.
You know what MMO I've always wanted, and maybe this is kind of dumb, but I've always thought it'd be really cool to have an Assassin's Creed MMO where like you could be a Templar or you could be an assassin. And like the Templar's idea is go make some money, go buy houses, get like as much stuff as you can. And like the assassin has to like have as little as they can to get like less attention. And then they have to find out who Templar and other players are. Like you don't know who other players are. There's a bunch of NPCs and you have no idea who the players are, but like it's on a grand scale. So like you have to actually hunt and gather information to find out who a Templar is and like assassinate them. And the Templars have to do the same for the assassins to defend themselves.
Some people might go out of their way to make themselves very much known that they're not NPCs jumping around doing crazy shit.
That would be really dumb because like I would have permadeath on almost every character in that MMO. So your character dies, you have to make another character.
I mean, and how do the NPCs move? Because if they don't move very similar to how a player would.
And there's a problem with the permadeath system there. Essentially, there has to be a level of learning curve so that people won't just get in, die, and then have to remake a character. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would have like a thing of learning curve beforehand. So like the first like 20 levels, you might like respawn or something, or you're like learning, you know. But like what would happen is the NPCs would kind of be like Shadow of Mordor, I think it is, where like the NPCs have like clan different things. So those are like the primary NPCs, and those are like
you want like a nemesis
players.
system.
Like, you don't know if they're a player. Yeah, you don't know if they're a player. They might be a player, and then you have like, you know, normie NPCs that are just walking around and running around. But like I think it would be very hard to implement for it. I don't know.
Among Us.
What kind of game could benefit from a nemesis system?
Well, so nemesis system is a systemic type mechanic. The whole point of it is to be able to organically create your own stories within that systemic world. So then the question is, how do you have like what kind of system, or what game I should say, would benefit from like that sort of system? Like,
do you mind if I do Quinn, do you mind if I do a small shout out, because I actually have a game, but I wanna someone gave me this idea and I'd rather shout them out if I'm gonna say it.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So for anyone who's doing Skyrim modding, go check out the organic factions mod for Skyrim, because that is what that mod is attempting to do for Skyrim, and it's attempting to putting basically a nemesis system for all the factions in the game.
Jesus Christ! Good luck
Skyrim
with that.
Well, he already did it in the Reach a little. So, like for instance, Markarth will actually fall under the control of the Forsworn if you like don't cut down Forsworn in the game. It's a little too fast right now, but he does have it so that one, NPCs act a little more intelligently and they'll actually come up with strategies and things. And then two, he actually did it so like NPCs start recruiting. So like you'll get a message in the beginning of the game saying like the Stormcloaks are recruiting in the Reach, the Imperials are recruiting in the Reach, and like they do start gaining numbers and move bases and move headquarters. Open Civil War is another mod from Skyrim that tries to do that. But I think Organic Factions really is what you're talking about, the Nemesis system of making your own story. And I think Elder Scrolls is the number one game where that would be beneficial because of how Elder Scrolls and even Fallout, the new Fallout games are set out. Those games would be wonderful if I could just like go around and like, oh man, just an organic, nice story just pops up out of nowhere and fits my character. That would be extremely cool. I just think that we're not there technology speaking yet. I think that's what the Elder Scrolls
we're there
games...
technology speaking, I would say. Just that we haven't, like, we would be in that moment, you know. I mean, the fact that they're making this mod right now shows that even Skyrim's engine, albeit the 64-bit version, is able to handle it.
Let me put it this way. Not raw technology. Like we have the actual technology, but we don't have the mass technology. For instance, my computer...
It's not popularized yet.
Yeah, it's not popularized yet, and my computer can barely process all of my Skyrim scripts. I'm trying to get a new computer right now for several reasons, but one of them is I just want to have my Skyrim scripts actually run in my game and stop like glitching and freezing and everything else.
Rest in peace.
Yeah,
trying to get a new computer now.
Core 5-year-old computer, almost 7. Actually, I think oh my god, it might be 10 years old.
I've heard a couple reports on SSDs becoming more expensive, so you might want to jump on that.
Yeah, I'm trying. But it really comes down to that's the main problem with all video games right now, which is video game processors don't have the ability to run the video game technology that would make video games actually next gen. You can't buy a $300 PlayStation and run Nemesis engine. It's not going to work.
I mean, throughout most of gaming history now, consoles have basically been like a hard cap on how far video games can go until the next generation comes along.
Yeah, you could play Shadows of Mordor on PS4.
Yes, but the PS4 version on a lot of the updates, and people don't know this unless you go into the files, but I'm a freaking nerd and decided to go into the files of like all of my games. They lower the NPC interactions. So there's more NPC interactions between NPCs in my PC version than there are in my Xbox version.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't know that, but like that's where you're talking about the Nemesis engine. Like the real stories come through not because of what your player does. Not because of what your player does. It comes through because the NPCs start doing stuff and you have to react. And I mean, I could go through a list of Skyrim mods that kind of can simulate a similar thing in Skyrim and Elder Scrolls, which is why I mean by like Elder Scrolls is the best game for this. But like putting on the mods, the famous mods of Warzone, putting on Open Civil War, putting on patrols and things like that just add random world encounters, you'll start having something that simulates something similar. It's not perfect. It's on repeat. But
it doesn't maintain like the aura of your character outside of your character, like it would in the Nemesis system.
And so there's Probus. There's a Probus mod that lets you switch characters and lets you like roleplay as different characters. And I think that's getting closer to the Nemesis idea where you can kind of maintain your character outside of it. But it's not fully there. And I think there's an engine limitation, but like the NPC interaction piece, you can get something approximately close to that with a collage of mods. You can get something close to that. And what's happening is collage of mods. Yeah, thank you. The thing that ends up happening, it's really interesting, is that's the first time I actually got interested in the Skyrim Civil War, because like bandit raids and attacks and stuff, and the fact that like having soldiers man all the fortresses where all the bandits were was another reason alone to be like, I want the Civil War to end, so like soldiers have all these forts, so I don't lose NPCs and friends to bandit raids, because I would legit have like play styles I'd set up where I would have like maybe like certain people I knew and stuff, and they would just die from bandit raids, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. And then like Stormcloaks and Imperials would come through, and I had like real fire that comes on. So like the fire would spread and kill more people. And it had a reason for me to get involved in like quest lines that I hate in the base game.
Yeah.
So Elder Scrolls would be the one for me. That is.
Well, it's got a very strong system that you can really play with, the sandbox, if you will. Albeit it does still have very linear stories with a little room for non-linearity.
Let's be fair, we all ignore the linear stories anyways. If you're following a linear story, you're not playing an Elder Scrolls game correctly. Or a Fallout game correctly. Shh, little secret.
Oh, well, I guess we're fresh out of topics now, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. It's 10:30. There's a pretty good chance that I'm gonna be able to get back to my place tomorrow. So if I get there early enough, then we might be able to get this Mass Effect Legendary Edition stream up and rolling. Thank you very much. All thanks to the main man K Moore over here. So without him, none of this would be possible.
K Moore. Give it up.
Okay.
Very, very generous man indeed. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here.
Hypes in chat for K Moore.
Yeah.
Hypes? Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Or something like that. But yeah, I guess I'll let you guys know if it all works out.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So
And so it shall be so.
I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I'll be right back. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that was it from me. And well, you guys take care of yourselves. And hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. Back at my place, playing some Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Until next time, you guys take care of yourselves. Thanks again for the generous donations, super chats, likes, subscription, views, follows. And until next time, well, all I can really say is, well, peace. Play, damn it.